Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. It is right about at the hour now. So excited to have you join to talk about the benefits of moving to the cloud with Moxie. We have Andy Markey on as our cloud migration expert today. Just a few quick housekeeping items. We will be accepting questions throughout today's webinar. You can type them in on your screen underneath the Q&A section, and we will have time at the end to go through them live. However, don't wait until the end to submit them. If you have a question throughout, you feel free to add them, and it'll add it to the queue so we can go through them during the session itself. Again, it is just right about the hour, so we'll get started, and I'll hand it over to Andy. Andy, good morning. Thanks so much for being with us.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking time out of your busy day. My name is Andy Markey, and I'm the Senior Director of Field Engineering, and I'm here today to walk you through some of the moving to the cloud with Moxie ideas. Some of the highlights that we'll talk about today include information about Moxie Cloud Services in general, some of the security standards and controls that we have in place, an explanation of the data that'll be migrated to your new cloud environment. We'll talk about some of the best practices for the move and how other customers have successfully transitioned. We'll look at resources that are required from your team and even look at a sample timeline for a migration. And then finally, we'll cover some of the benefits of moving to the cloud, including access to new and innovative products. As we kick off the webinar, I'd like to reinforce that Moxie is not new to the cloud. Moxie has had customers in our cloud for more than 10 years. We do continue to invest in our cloud strategies so we can offer you a scalable cloud solution that is both safe and secure. So with that, let's start with Moxie certifications. In general, Moxie has you covered. We have invested in security, and we host some of the largest companies in the world in the Moxie cloud. Moxie has deployed services across many different verticals, including retail, financial services, and healthcare. Our security team has delivered the highest level of security standards, and we continue to invest in these certifications. So first, Moxie is ISO 27001 certified, providing customers the highest assurance of corporate security. We have security policies in place and conduct regular risk assessments that allow us to adapt to an ever-changing market. For channels customers in healthcare, Moxie provides a hosting environment that meets all requirements of HIPAA compliance for encryption and transmitted data. For retail and other companies dealing with payment card industry, Moxie is PCI Level 1 certified and offers premium service options which comply with payment card industry standards, including secure options for handling credit card data. PCI allows our channels customers to handle secure transactions through live engagements. All of our data centers are fully compliant to SSAE 16 SOC Type 2, and those data centers are third-party audited. And finally, a note on GDPR, where even though there's no formal certification, Moxie is committed to general data protection regulation compliance across our cloud solutions. So we maintain internal privacy and security program designed to ensure our GDPR compliance through internal privacy assessments. We do enforce strict data security standards and implement required policies and procedures under the direction of Moxie's Chief Security Officer. And in addition to our own compliance, Moxie is committed to helping our customers comply with GDPR when using our services. For our cloud customers, Moxie applications natively support direct access to personal information stored in our data center. The direct access is designed to allow Moxie Cloud customers to comply with GDPR's right-to-know requirements. So in general, from a security and certifications perspective, Moxie has you covered. So let's start talking about the migration process for a few minutes. I'm sure you have lots of questions, including how does a migration work? What about my data? What is the timeline? Let's touch on a few of those. So first, talking about just the data in general. We want to ensure that there is no data loss in a migration to the cloud. We are simply doing a backup and restore of your current configuration. Even no data cleanup is needed. Moxie Cloud Services can assist with any data cleanup as part of the migration. What about customizations? So We will review your current configuration as part of the migration process and try to simplify customizations, essentially review those if there's still a requirement, and we can move those that are needed to the cloud. The majority of customizations are supported in the Moxie cloud, and we'll validate the customizations to make sure that they're still meeting the business needs. How about encryption? So all users are connecting to Moxie Cloud Solutions over a TLS encryption for any data in motion. And for channels customers, we also offer database encryption for data while it's sitting at rest. You may ask, do I need to be on a specific version prior to migrating? The simple answer is no. Moxie will move you to the cloud regardless of the version that you're on today. And as we move you to the cloud, we can also apply the latest patches and fixes to your environment to ensure that you're on the latest version as part of the migration process. So a few more details on the migration process itself. We want to ensure here that the hard work you've invested in Moxie Solutions will move with you. We understand that recreating content is difficult and can be very time-consuming. So on the knowledge side, all of the things that you're using today, such as users, articles, the taxonomy, it all goes with you. You don't have to do any data cleanup either. We want to make this as simple and easy as possible for the migration. So as we dig into some of those items, simply articles, all the previous versions, all of the article templates that you have, everything will move with you. Your taxonomy, including categories, attributes, any article groups, those all stay intact. Your portals will migrate as is, meaning your end user experience will stay the same. And finally, reporting. We'll continue to have access to all of the historical reporting data that you have access to today. Because we're moving everything to the cloud, there's no additional training requirement. This means there's no new expense for onboarding your existing users. It'll be a very simple transition into the cloud. Similarly, on the channel side, all of your data will migrate to the cloud. That's users, content, queues, history, it all does move with you. Specifically, things like customer history, so you will not lose access to past interactions, past chats, or emails. All of the workflow and routing rules that you have will stay intact. Your user permissions, there's no need to recreate user profiles or set up new users in the system. And finally, once again, reporting will continue to provide access to all the historical data that you've had over the years. So to summarize here, the investments you have made in Moxie over the last few years will continue with you in your move to the cloud. So another common question we see is how long does the actual migration take? What you're looking at now is a sample of what occurs during the migration. This is an example maybe for a medium-sized deployment that may have some customizations, and it looks at across the various phases of a move to the cloud. For a smaller deployment, it could certainly be less, but we have a general methodology in place to help you move to the cloud. 8 to 12 weeks is the norm for the migration. So as we start from the left, planning is important. We want to review requirements. We want to look at customizations, any kind of integrations that you may have. All of these can impact the migration timeline. We want to ensure a seamless transition with little to no business impact. From a design perspective, we'll provision the infrastructure in the cloud. The Moxie Cloud Services team will create a secure FTP site for you to upload a copy of your data. And the Moxie Cloud team will restore your data in a newly provisioned cloud environment. From a migration perspective and testing, you'll have access to non-production environments. This allows you to do user acceptance testing as well as functional and any integration testing. We'll review any potential changes to your website, and then finally validate any connectivity to back office systems such as mail servers for email customers, for example. This step also includes implementing and testing any customizations that would be required for your migration. For go live, we'll do cutover planning and rollback planning in case any unexpected events come up. Data transfer from your non-production environment into a production and ready environment. And finally, a successful go live. So we'll schedule time and actually make the cutover into the Moxie Cloud. And during that, Moxie will continue to provide support as well as hypercare during the transition phases. Your customer success manager will continue to provide support after go live in the Moxie Cloud. So what kinds of resources are involved in a migration? From a Moxie perspective, you'll have access to a dedicated Moxie project manager who manages the overall project and the milestones. You'll also have access to a functional analyst that provides training and general consulting through the various phases, as well as a technical analyst that can help with any of the integrations, connectivity, and database access, and so on. Resources on your side may include generally the business will help with any kind of testing and validating that the products are working as expected. Your IT team may help and assist with backup of the data, any kind of back office integrations, as well as general connectivity to the Moxie cloud. And then, of course, if there are any updates needed, your web team will be there to help make changes on the website experience side. So ahead of the project timeline, here's a few things to start thinking about now. Well, we said 8 to 12 weeks on the previous slide. That's typically from contract to go live. We want to plan a migration with little to no impact to your business. From an internal perspective, you'll need to keep in mind peak and freeze periods, holidays, annual enrollment, those type of things. While we have certifications, companies often require a formal security review. So Moxie sales and information security teams will work with each of you to validate your requirements and ensure that they align to Moxie security standards. Moxie sales and professional services teams will also review any customizations or non-standard configurations to ensure a seamless migration to the Moxie cloud. We also need to consider your resource availability. Are your team members involved in any other projects, and how do we prioritize those resources accordingly? Of course, we have to go through budgeting and legal phases, which can certainly take some time too. The general takeaway here is that we should be thinking about these steps now to help ensure a timely cutover to the Moxie cloud. So why should I make the move to the cloud? In general, Moxie is aligning to a shifting market. Moving to the cloud will help lower your overall operational costs. Keeping you up to date from an application perspective is a key driver for Moxie. This allows us to deliver new features faster to your teams. Moxie Cloud team will manage all the updates, fixes, new versions in a timely manner, which helps minimize the amount of IT resources needed on your side. From a support perspective, we know support tickets close faster for cloud customers, on average about 50% faster. The Moxie Cloud team has access to infrastructure to help capture logs and any other information used to help troubleshoot. A like-for-like migration will also ensure minimal impact to the business and allow your IT resources to stay focused on other projects. Because we're moving like-for-like, the migration will have a minimal impact to your business and will help ensure a seamless, low-risk transition. Once you're in the Moxie Cloud, you'll also have access to a lot of new and innovative solutions. We'll be happy to share those new innovative solutions with you at a future date. So back to security for a bit. In addition to all the certifications we talked about earlier, behind those certifications, we have comprehensive security policies. As a cloud solution, these policies are required in order to receive those certifications. From a cloud security perspective, we have these policies in place to ensure your data is protected. These policies include things such as physical checkpoints and only authorized personnel can access physical environments. Access control policies include limited access to Moxie Cloud Services staff, as well as partial read-only access by support and professional services teams on the Moxie side. Logical controls are in place to monitor and block unnecessary traffic. We offer single sign-on solutions, allowing integration to identity management solutions. And then finally, general prevention practices, including hardening servers and intrusion detection services. And overall, Moxie has a 24/7 network operations center that monitors all aspects of the Moxie Cloud. So a few more details on our physical data centers. Solutions are available regionally in both US and Europe. All of our data centers meet the appropriate guidelines to ensure your data is as safe as possible. Moxie data centers are state-of-the-art. Additional controls that we have in place include internal and third-party testing assessments that are completed regularly to ensure the highest level of security. Backups are performed daily and stored in the cloud. Antivirus protection is in place on all of our servers. whitelisting and industry standard leading firewalls provide network protection. And of course, we have disaster recovery options available to provide the highest level of uptime and availability. And once again, all of these services are monitored by the Moxie NOC 24/7. So let's summarize. Why have other customers migrated to the Moxie Cloud? First, it's a low-risk like-for-like migration. We know your business. This is simply moving your solution to the Moxie Cloud. There's minimal impact to the business. All of your content and your data, all of the rules and workflow that you've invested will all migrate to the Moxie Cloud. No new training is needed for end users. The migration will be very seamless to the folks that are using the application on a daily basis. Moxie takes data security very seriously. We have covered with numbers of certifications and policies to support the certifications. And then finally, access to new functionality faster. Moxie is releasing new solutions faster than ever. You can upgrade and add those solutions when you're ready. So in general, that's the high-level overview. I think we certainly should have a few minutes here to handle some of the Q&A today. So I'll reach back out to Valerie. Valerie, maybe on mute. So I've got a couple other questions here that popped in. How much lead time do I need to get started? Oh, there's Valerie. The first one I saw.
I double muted myself.
Oh,
and
no
then
problem.
only single mute because I didn't trust myself. Okay. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the Q&A section now. But we'll get, and Andy, you started saying the same when I was going to. How much lead time do I need to get started?
Yeah, I think in general, the sooner the better. We are scheduling resources now. We're reaching the end of Moxie's year where we are running into some freeze periods with data centers to manage holidays, and we have customers that are doing enrollments, benefits, those kind of things. So we do lock down some of our infrastructure. So my advice would certainly be to at least start scheduling, having conversations as soon as possible. We'll have folks on our team that can help engage there.
Great. And speaking of folks to engage, who should I work with or reach out to following today's session for my next steps?
Yeah, I'd say probably the person that invited you to the webinar or whoever you spoke with to kind of get an update on it. Likely your account manager. We also have customer success managers that will be in follow-up after the webinar. So any of those resources would be great. We can certainly get the conversations rolling.
Okay, great. And then the next is, how are updates handled?
So on-premise upgrades are traditionally handled by your IT resources. With the move to the cloud, the Moxie Cloud Services team will own all of those updates. So any changes, any updates, any additions to the cloud, everything like that would be managed by the Moxie Cloud team.
Super. Okay, our next one is portals that move are PS4 and responsive only. If we are on PS3 and PS2, we need to update, correct?
Not necessarily. So really, we talked a lot today about a like-for-like migration, which does include support for some of the legacy portal styles. We do have some newer products and newer solutions, newer innovative items in the cloud that do limit access to the old portals, namely the 1s and 2s and 3s that you mentioned. But we can ensure a like-for-like migration and allow you to continue using the older portal styles, more of the legacy portal styles in place. So I think that's something that'd be great to have more of a one-on-one conversation, and we can certainly figure out a path for you to the cloud.
Great. All right, and then is this compliant with accessibility guidelines for web content?
Yes, we have done some WCAG compliance across our solutions. We've invested in that significantly in our KB10 product line. I think that would, in general, is certainly important to Moxie, and we can have more detailed conversations and ensure that we are meeting the requirements that you need.
Fantastic. Well, Andy, thank you so much. If anybody has any additional, oh, sorry, we do have one more that I missed here. Are we considering a FedRAMP authorization?
It is something Moxie's considering. We don't have a FedRAMP certification today, but we have had a number of conversations internally and we do have a few customers that are currently on-premise that are asking about those requirements. So we can certainly continue to investigate that internally, and we can reach out to you individually and have conversations on the FedRAMP strategy.
If there's any final questions, please submit them now. Otherwise, we will wrap and give you a few minutes back in your day. Always efficient. Thank you so much, Andy. This is fantastic, and I hope everyone found it as valuable today. And if you have any follow-up questions, like Andy said, please reach out to your account manager or customer success manager, and we look forward to migrating you to the cloud. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.